She thought humans were useless until he saved her child. Coordinates: Border Sector 7A. Destroyed Inkari Outpost, 13:47 station time. Metal melted in the air like wax under flame. Ash hung in the sky like grey pollen from a burned world. The radio crackled with static, screams, and the dead echo of explosions, and one male voice, still alive. "I said open up. Do you have kids in there, for God's sake?" Scout Caleb Archer ripped the burnt-out airlock open with his bare hands, fingers bloody, palms scorched and blackened. Behind the door, an infant pod, rusted, damaged, barely humming. He dropped to his knees and tore off the lid. The small creature inside, green-skinned, almost translucent, tiny tentacles on its arms, let out a raspy wheeze. Caleb's heart clenched hard. "Easy, I've got you." He lifted the child into his arms. It made a thin, ragged noise, like it was screaming without air, not even human, but still a child. Caleb wrapped it in the torn-off sleeve of his uniform. His helmet flashed red, oxygen critical. His left eye wouldn't focus after the blow, but he kept moving, through smoke, through burning beams, past the dead, scattered on the floor. Outside, the thunder of engines roared. Alien dropships, they were here. He stepped out onto the ashen plateau, child in his arms, smoke all around, blood on his face. And in that moment, a barrel of an assault bow rifle pressed into his chest. "Put it down, now!" The voice was female, metallic, like the armor that encased her. It was the first time he saw her. Tari Vass, commander of the Inkari Tactical Unit. Obsidian-colored, scale-like skin, horns curving backward, eyes with vertical slits glowing amber. She stood still, aiming straight at his heart. Her soldiers were already circling him. One of them hissed, "Human, of course." "Stealing our infants." Caleb exhaled. Panic hammered in his chest. Sarcasm rang in his mind. "Yeah, exactly. Love stuffing alien babies into my backpack. Hobby of mine, you know." They didn't laugh. Tiari didn't look away, didn't even blink. Caleb felt the warmth of the child slowly fading. It was slipping away. "This infant." She tilted her head slightly. "Where did you find it?" "Inside, buried, alone, under the rubble." "Why did you take it?" He hesitated. The truth would sound pathetic, too human, and that didn't seem welcome here. Because no one else did. The silence stretched. Even the ash seemed to freeze mid-air. "Take the infant. Detain the human." "What?" Caleb stepped back. "I saved him. You entered Imperial territory without authorization, violated the border, and now you are a potential threat to the infant's safety." He clutched the child tighter. Its tiny heartbeat, weak and ragged, fluttered against his chest. If they took it now, it would die. He knew it. And so did she. "You can shoot me, or you can take him to a medic. Then do whatever you want with me." "We always do whatever we want, human," someone hissed behind him. "Yeah, I can tell by your sparkling hospitality," he snorted. "Real warm welcome, burns right through." Tari stared at him for too long. Something flickered in her gaze. Or did it? Maybe he imagined it. Then she gave a short nod. Her voice was firm but thin, almost musical. "Alive, to isolation, under observation." Caleb felt his throat tighten. He didn't smile, he didn't have the strength. He simply stepped forward. One of the soldiers took the child and, to his surprise, carefully wrapped it in a thermal blanket. The others grabbed Caleb and led him away. In the holding cell, an hour later, he sat on the cold metal floor, hands cuffed. One wall transparent. On the other side, her, Tari, silent, watching. "Do you look at everyone like that, or am I special?" "You're foolish." That almost sounds like a compliment. Just so you know, in our culture, when a woman looks at a man like that, it's practically a date. In your culture, everything sounds made up. And in yours, everything sounds like an accusation. Because it is. I saved him. Not for you, not for the mission, just because he was a child. Why is that so hard for you to believe? She slowly stood, walked closer to the glass and whispered, not with anger, not with venom, just with weary certainty. Because civilizations die from your kind of kindness. She left without looking back. Impulse signal intercepted from Station Core VX. Classified? Outpost 7 incident not accidental, confirmed. Target hybrid. Order termination. Target still alive. 6 hours after the arrest. Zertar-class laboratory shuttle, orbiting Sector 7A. Caleb sat in the med bay, an IV in his arm, and that ancient feeling settling in, either exhaustion or just not giving a damn anymore. He was alive. They hadn't tortured him. That, in itself, was starting to feel suspicious. Through the frosted glass he could see her, Tari, standing in the shadows, hands behind her back, posture tense, like a warrior before a ritual. She faced away from him, and away from her own kind. "You always do your spying in silence? Or do I get the deluxe package?" he called out, leaning back. She didn't turn, but her voice reached him. "We're not interested in your sarcasm." "Oh." "What are you interested in?" "Motive." "It's called compassion. You running low on that?" She turned around. Her gaze was heavy, but for the first time there was no disgust in it. "You still don't understand that child—" She stopped, and in that moment the shuttle hull trembled. Sirens. Caleb stood, yanked the IV from his arm, took a step forward. The door didn't open. A blast, then another. The system buckled, humming with resonance. They were under attack. The shuttle had been intercepted, not by a ship, by sabotage. Someone inside the Inkari had leaked the coordinates. This was an assassination attempt. The pilot was dead. Controls locked out. The only escape, an emergency pod, built for 2. Tari opened the hatch. Caleb didn't wait for orders. He shoved his way inside. In her arms, a small bundle. He understood. "And it's him, isn't it?" Silence. Only drops of fluid slid down the pod's inner wall like tears. "He's your child?" She didn't answer. She just held the infant closer. The pod sealed shut. And the countdown began. 3, 2, 1. They crashed into the dead biome of planet Rulktar 4. The atmosphere, frigid, thin. No cities here. Just forgotten camps and bones of ancient expeditions frozen into the ice. The pod had flipped on landing, metal bent inward, door jammed. "Perfect," Caleb muttered. "Just need hot cocoa and a thermonuclear storm to really tie it all together." Tari crawled toward the hatch. With a flick of her metal claw, she pried out the locking mechanism. The door groaned open. Cold surged in like a wave. Caleb stepped out first. He felt it instantly. Oxygen was barely breathable. Tari, though, seemed mostly unaffected by the cold, but the infant shivered in her arms. Without a word, Caleb slipped off his thermal cloak and draped it over her shoulders. She gave him a surprised look. "You're cold," she said. "Yeah." "Then why?" "Because you need it more. Or you're strange. And you're scaly. Shall we keep going?" They walked through the snowstorm, spoke little. "This child," he began. "Not yours," she cut in sharply. He nodded. "But important?" "More than you can understand. Try me." She stopped. The wind slammed into their faces. She looked up. The sky cracked like a shattered mirror. "I'm not just a soldier. I was part of the initiative, the bridge. We tried to link our species, diplomatically, biologically. He is the result. I carried him from a human." A jolt ran down Caleb's spine. "So, his father was one of your kind. Brilliant, warm. He died. I survived. I had to hide the boy, but someone found us." He nodded, fell silent for a long moment. "I didn't think that was allowed. It's not for us, not for me. But I did it, because I wanted to see if it was possible." They found a cave, deep, dark, but with residual warmth from underground currents. Inside, crystals glowed with a soft blue light. The air was heavy but warm. She laid the child down gently, wrapping him in her cloak. He lit a glow module. They sat across from each other. "Want to know why I saved him?" he said. "Why?" "I had a brother, younger. He died while I was out on a mission. I didn't make it in time." She didn't respond, just watched him. He let out a laugh, quiet, bitter. "Funny, isn't it? I saved someone else's kid when I couldn't save my own." To his surprise, Tari moved closer, sat beside him, not too close, but close enough that he could feel her warmth. "It wasn't your fault." "And you?" he asked. She looked away. "I don't know." They fell silent. Just sat there, two enemies, two strangers, two parents. He leaned his head against the cave wall. "Sleep, human," she said softly. "I'll keep watch." "And you?" "I'm used to it. Your voice, it's like a violin on ice, not screeching, just beautiful." She smiled. For the first time. And for the first time, it wasn't a predatory one. "You humans give strange compliments." "Your culture's strange too, so I guess we're even." A faint signal ping, barely audible. They didn't hear it. Someone had tracked them. Someone was watching through the ice, and that someone was neither Inkari nor human. Planet Rulgtar 4. Cave with bioluminescent crystals. 13 hours after the crash. The child stirred first, soft, breathy sounds in the warm cocoon of fabric and faint crystal light. Tari opened her eyes instantly. A soldier's instinct. Caleb was still asleep, breath slow, head tilted toward his shoulder. She checked the child, still alive, still fragile, but breathing steady. Then she heard it, a subtle shift, not from the cave, from beneath. The glow of the crystals dimmed for a moment, flickering unnaturally, like something moved under the ground. She stood without a word, gaze sharp, pulse silent. Something else was here, and it was getting closer. Caleb woke to a sound, unnatural. Something scratching the ice, like claws dragging across frozen armor. He sat up slowly. The air was damp, as if something was breathing from inside the walls. Beside him, Tari, alert, one hand on her blade. Her eyes were narrowed. Her pulse quickened. And she smelled different. Caleb couldn't explain it, but the air between them grew heavier, like the charged silence before a storm. "They're here?" he whispered. "Yes, but it's not Inkari, not human." She handed him an ancient arcablaster. He stared. "This looks like it came from a museum." "It works." "Good, because I'm fresh out of the die today option." And then the ice wall exploded. The creatures that emerged from the wreckage were relict mercenaries, natives of the Jack-tier moons. They were hired for the dirty work. They had no spoken language, only click-click pulses and neural impulse chatter. Their eyes, black as obsidian, their armor, stained with blood. Their target, the hybrid child. "Protect him!" Tari shouted. "You think I was planning to hide behind a rock? I was hoping you had a self-preservation instinct." "I'm human. We're not great at that." Caleb fired, holding the flank. Every shot, every impact sent lightning through his muscles. His arms trembled from the strain. He screamed. He bled with every breath. He was alive. Tari moved like a storm, her blade slicing through ice, flesh, and steel. She was beyond fierce. She was feral, as if she wasn't just protecting her son, but the version of herself she might become with him. Then, one of the mercenaries raised an impulse granulator, aimed straight at the child. Caleb didn't think. He jumped, threw himself between the blast and the boy. Impact. He was hurled back. Blood smeared across the stone. Fire licked his skin, and through clenched teeth he whispered, "Don't you even think? I'm giving up." Tari screamed for the first time. No words, no rank, just a cry. A woman, a mother. She ran to him, dropped to her knees. "Number! You're not dying. Not now. Not here." She pressed herself to his chest. Her tears soaked into his shirt. "I don't want to lose you, human." "You're only figuring that out now." He coughed, managed a smile. "Tari?" "Yes?" "If you save me." "What?" "I'm going to ask you on a date. That's what we do." She gripped his hand tightly. "Then live, because my answer is yes." They activated an ancient beacon built into the cave's structure, an archival relay from the old diplomatic corps abandoned centuries ago. Tiari stepped forward and broadcast her message into the ether. "I am Tari Vas, commander of the Inkari Empire. I transmit here the birth record of a hybrid child, evidence of a violated peace mission, the attack on a diplomatic outpost, and interference by third-party forces. Within this message lies the truth of our fear, of our hope, and of a human we once deemed useless. He didn't just save my child, he saved me." And the signal went out, into the stars. Across the galaxy, chaos ignited. The Inkari Imperial Council called an emergency session. Half demanded Tiari be put on trial. The other half declared the child a new evolutionary step. On Earth, Caleb was branded either a hero or a traitor. Journalists screamed for interviews, generals wanted his head, but something had already been set in motion and couldn't be undone. Video footage, Tari holding a wounded Caleb in her arms. Tears, the child clinging to her chest. This wasn't propaganda, this was truth. While debates raged, the Inkari military moved to erase the evidence. They dispatched a suppression fleet, but Earth's armada met them head-on for the first time in 10 years of conflict. On the main screens of both flagships appeared Caleb's face, barely alive, and Tari's voice. "We are different, but our hearts still beat. We make mistakes, but we have children. If you destroy us, you destroy the last hope." And no one pressed the button. A month passed. Caleb recovered, still limped, still joked, just like always. Now, part of the diplomatic corps, contracted, of course, but more importantly, he sat beside her. Tari was no longer a commander, but not an exile either. She was a mother, a symbol, and no longer afraid of what she felt. The boy was growing. He had his mother's eyes, Caleb's smile, and everyone who saw him understood. He wasn't a threat, he was a bridge. "Do you miss your planet?" she asked, watching his face in the light of the second sun. "Sometimes, especially the coffee. And good boots. What about you?" "I used to miss peace. Now, it's beside me." He smiled. "In our culture, we call that being together. In ours, it's called, for once, not being alone." He took her hand. The scales were cool, but her fingers were steady and strong. "Then let's not be." The galaxy didn't become perfect, but it changed. Hybrid children were no longer hidden. Humans took their place in the Council of the Sentient. Tari and Caleb, they weren't royalty, but they were the beginning of a new chapter. Their story was passed down like legend, but it was real.